This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened. Every day we make hundreds of decisions, most of which are simply routine. But on the morning of December 4th, 1989 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Jerry Meredith and his wife Donna were on their way home from running errands when they faced a choice that was anything but ordinary. Much of the footage that follows was taped as events unfolded that day.
Look at that guy down there. He's going nuts.
I didn't understand what actually was going on at that time, but I thought there's just been an accident or the bank was being robbed.
Look at that van right in the door. Look at that van.
And at that instant, this particular white van sped off.
It's following.
So I told my wife, let's just see where this here white van comes out, and we'll follow it. All of a sudden, a black Ford Tempo spit out right in front of me.
And then we looked to the right, and there's the white van with the doors open. So then we knew the bank's been robbed, and the robbers, have changed from the van to this black car.
Realizing that I had my wife in the car, and it was dangerous, not just for myself, for her, I was trying to stay as far away as I could.
There they are.
I told my wife, don't even look at them, don't pay any attention to them. And we just drove right by them nonchalantly. Eased my car up just enough so I could see this individual stuffing money into a bag. He was stuffing money into a sack as fast as he could. And all of a sudden, he stood straight up and looked in my direction. I would assume he didn't see me. I gave him maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I started inching back up to see what's going on. Well, at that time, a white Volvo pulled right back out onto the street and started heading back in the direction they had just come.
The car, there's nobody in the car there.
And I looked back into the parking lot where the black Ford Tempo was. It was empty, so I knew that they had to be in that white Volvo.
That's where they're going.
Oh, God, they know we're following him. Let's get out of here.
So I immediately just stopped in my tracks, turned into a driveway, backed up, and just nonchalantly hit it right back where I came from. Like nothing was happening, Sunday Drive. But I knew in my mind, if I didn't get back to the bank as quick as I could, that these individuals could get away.
Knoxville police officer Terry Clowers was investigating the robbery when Jerry pulled up.
He was just driving just real wild and went to yelling at me. I followed the bank robbers. Come and follow me, I'll show you where they're at. And I had to jump back in the car and chase him. He was just real convincing. So I just told him over the radio a subject was taking me to where the suspects were at.
I got very nervous because they had moved the white Volvo out of the front of the house.
Is this it? Go to the Red Christ Center and wait!
I got to thinking, this might be the wrong house. He might have just followed somebody that was making a withdrawal.
Hey, I see somebody looking out the window.
But she was real frantic. And I said, well, something's wrong here. People, you know, if they see a couple cruisers in front, they might step out on the porch and say, "What's going on, officer?" You know, if nothing was going on.
Where's he at, Terry?
Officer Jim Marino, which we call Guido, arrived.
Okay, move on up, go.
Young officer, and I took him kind of under my wing.
Got it.
Okay.
Come to the front door, walk outside now.
I informed them that we were the police. They were completely surrounded. There was no means of escape. Told them to come out with their hands raised. No one would get hurt.
Open the front door, walk outside. You're completely surrounded.
Officer Larry Gilland continued to talk to the suspects as an elderly woman living in an apartment behind the house was evacuated.
Front door.
Less than half an hour after they surrounded the house, a female suspect surrendered to police.
Come to the front door. Come outside onto the porch now.
About 15 minutes later, the first man of the group came out. Tried the same thing again, but no response with the third guy. He was the hard case.
An FBI team arrived and took up positions around the house, including Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Tom Locke.
One of the primary things we wanted to do was to find out as much intelligence information from the two who had surrendered about the third one who was still inside. Basically, there were two things. One, he was armed. He had several weapons. And secondly, both the suspects thought that this individual was of a mind that he was not going to come out.
Don't take the camera off our face.
When we continue,
he was caught up, trapped, had no place to go, and it was his choice to either come out dead or alive.
the Knoxville Police Department SWAT team took over at the scene, with the FBI supporting and Agent John Denton negotiating.
What we try to do in this kind of situation is slow everything down. Get that person who's on the inside, whether they have hostages or not, to assess his situation in a realistic way.
This is John Denton of the FBI. I'm a negotiator. I want you to relax. Take it easy.
This is a problem with this incident. There's no phone in the house. With a bullhorn, you really can't tell with the dynamics whether the person is actually tuned into you. He's been through a bank robbery, so he's very high on anxiety. He's fired up. His adrenaline's pumping. He thought he was safe. Suddenly he realized he's surrounded by the police. He's got weapons in there. He's got a lot of bank robbery loot. Two people, probably in his mind, and I'm second guessing here, have abandoned him. And there he is, stuck.
The SWAT team commander, Lieutenant Jim Kennedy, was in charge at the scene.
He was caught up, trapped, had no place to go, and it was his choice to either come out dead or alive.
You got control right now. Stand by. You got control. Stand by. What's going to happen after this?
One of the sharpshooters on the scene was Officer Gary Moyers.
We figured that a rational person would see that the uselessness of the situation and come out. If not, we would deploy some gas and force him out into us.
As the standoff entered its third hour, tear gas rounds were launched into the house.
Normally, whenever a person is exposed to gas, it's a shock effect, you know. I give up, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
No one needs to get hurt. We will treat you fairly. There's no reason for anyone to get hurt.
Captain Cummins, we're going to fire on.
Guido yelled at me, "Terry, I've been hit." he was just telling me, Terry, it burns, it burns. It was just real scary. I didn't know if he had his stomach blown away.
Hey, get that there, man. Hold on.
Guido and I were real close, and it scared me real bad.
And I crawled up alongside, pulled out the microphone, and said, I think we've all had enough of this. Why don't you throw out your gun? And almost immediately, a gun came out the window.
Very positive sign. Oh, he's still got two weapons.
Down on the front porch. There he is. He got his hands up. They got him. He surrendered. There he is. Got him.
Talked him out on the front porch. Had the weapon on his own chest. Give him the peace sign. So in effect, he's holding himself hostage for his own safety. If he came out of there in any other posture, with the emotions out there, with an officer being shot, and all the other gunfire that went on, cruisers being damaged, bullets, holes, and things, somebody on the perimeter might have shot him.
He told us that he was going to kill himself. He said, "Don't get excited." And we said, "No, don't." We kept trying to get him to throw the gun out. And the FBI agent was there with me. I looked and I said, "I can hit the gun." It knocked it up away from his chest. And he turned and turned the pistol and looked at it and saw that it was damaged.
After 4 hours, the final suspect was taken into custody. He was later found guilty of bank robbery and attempted murder and sentenced to prison. The other male suspect was also sentenced to prison. The woman was cleared of all charges. Jerry Meredith has received numerous awards for his quick thinking in spotting the bank robbers that day.
Had he not followed them and observed the car switching and then taken us to that location, we probably wouldn't have caught them.
Because he'd been wearing a bulletproof vest, Officer Richard Giamarino recovered quickly from the gunshot.
The vest absorbs the energy of the bullet, but the bullet is moving at such a fast rate that it actually burns you. It's like being hit with a baseball bat or a hot poker.
Guido's living proof of wearing the body armor, and a lot of officers that normally left that vest hanging in their locker now put it on.
Next.
Scott was one of the bigger goofballs because he's always joking around, so nobody knew he was hurt.
On a hot day in May of 1991 in the suburbs of Greenville, South Carolina, some friends from the local high school band gathered at a backyard pool to try to cool off. 18-year-old Scott Burdett and his girlfriend Kelly Hart had been going together for almost a year.
Several guys were having a contest trying to show off just cannonballs and whatever. They could think that they were making them up. Scott was one of the bigger goofballs. We were all on the side watching them, and then Scott dove off. I didn't think anything was wrong with him at first because he's always joking around, so nobody knew he was hurt.
Help! Somebody, help!
And I go over there and I grab him by the waist, and he said his neck is hurt. And then he said, "Kelly, I couldn't move." And I was scared, just real scared.
Kelly called for Scott's sister, Krista.
went over there to him. She was holding him up, and I kind of like, you know, just put my hands on his back, and I asked him, I said, Scott, are you really hurt? Because he plays around so much. But he was like, yeah, man, I'm really hurt. He was serious.
Call for help.
Get him out of the pool.
No, leave him alone.
And somebody told me to get him out of the swimming pool. I said no. I had been in a class, and 2 EMS workers had told us to not move the victim in case of head and spinal cord injuries that could cause paralysis.
Rescue units from the Berea Fire Department and Greenville County EMS were dispatched to the scene.
I just started realizing that he was really hurt. And I was trying not to cry or anything. And we kept shaking. We were trying to be still, but we kept shaking.
I was crying, I was shaking, and I was scared that I was going to move him. I had to be calm because if I had moved, I could have hurt him very badly.
Off-duty paramedic Tom Kickler heard the report of the accident on his scanner and rushed over to see if he could help.
Okay, is he conscious? I took my shoes and my socks off, and I eased myself into the water to try to reduce any effect of rippleness, because any type of movement may aggravate his injury. Okay, Scott, how you doing, bud?
I'm still here.
Are you having any trouble breathing at all or anything like that?
No.
He said, well, he wasn't able to move any of his extremities, and at that point, he had some numbness in his arms and legs.
When the medic unit arrived, EMS supervisor Bill Markley took charge.
What do you got, Tom? Yeah, we got a possible spinal injury. Jumped in the pool, struck his head. No loss of consciousness. He's got some tenderness in the C-spine.
The head immobilization was taken over by Tom, and then the cervical collar was applied to Scott at that time. We rotated Scott onto his back, being very careful to keep his head in alignment with his body. And then we floated a backboard under him and secured him in a reeve sleeve, which completely immobilizes the body from head to toe.
Scott's mother arrived just as the paramedics were ready to remove him from the pool.
I just went over to him and told him that I was there. As I looked at him, I could see fear in his eyes, but he was very quiet. He didn't try to speak or anything.
First, 1, 2, 3.
It was hurting to see my brother being taken away. It was like I kept trying not to cry before, but then when we got on the deck, I don't know, I guess it just all started coming out.
We had a friend whose brother-in-law had a motorbike accident, and he was paralyzed from it. Several months ago, Scott and I were talking, and he asked me, he says, Mom, if anything like that ever happens to me, he says, I want you to pull the plug, and that kind of means, you know, I don't want to live that way.
Scott was transported to Greenville Memorial Hospital, where he was examined by neurosurgeon O.M. Ballinger.
The x-rays showed that he had a broken neck. If he were allowed to bend his head forward about another 1/4 of an inch at the scene, he probably would have been permanently paralyzed.
Kelly deserves a lot of credit. She resisted the attempts and the pleas of other teenagers at the scene to remove him from the pool. And had Kelly done so, the outcome would have been tragically different, I'm sure.
6 months after undergoing surgery to repair his broken neck, Scott Burdett has made an amazing recovery.
I really love Kelly a lot, and I really do appreciate she saving my life. And I mean, there's not really words that you can say for stuff like that.
He's always treated me nice, but I think he seemed sweeter, I guess you'd say, to me. I was going to stay with him even if he was paralyzed, and I think that's what was going through his mind, too. that he was scared that he was going to lose me also. But I was going to stick through him no matter what happened.
Kelly is grateful that she had a chance to learn first aid techniques.
I think the lesson is that, you know, pay attention to anything, because I had no idea when I was sitting there listening to them, I had no idea that I was going to be using the procedures that I had learned.
I think that some teenagers at some time or another do learn the lesson of their own mortality.
It made me realize that life can be taken away from you in a snap. I think it's made me grow up a little bit more. I think it made really the whole group grow up a little bit more.
Step out of the car, please.